You are listening to the Novel Writing Podcast, episode 197. I'm your host, Colleen Mitchell. Grab a cup, cozy up, and let's get to writing. Today I'm doing something a little different, and I'm bringing you a case study on a recent indie book release, which has since been pulled, called Age of Scorpius by Audra Winter. For those of you who have not heard about this story, I will give a brief summary. But first, some disclaimers. Audra Winter is a pen name. Don't dox her. Please don't go to her socials and make hurtful comments. It's not nice, and she is already aware of the issues with her book. She has, however, invited readers to engage in her comments with each other, with a caveat that she will not be commenting back. This case study is not for Audra, or any of her friends, family, or production team. This is for other writers to learn from what Audra did well and what she did wrong. I have not read Age of Scorpius, and I will expand on this in a minute. And then lastly, Audra is in her 20s, and she is neurodivergent. Her age and her neurodivergence have both been used as reasons to, quote-unquote, go easy on her, because Age of Scorpius was her debut novel. However, she is an adult, and there is no reason to treat her differently than we would someone in their 30s or older with a debut novel. So with all of that out of the way, let's talk about what Age of Scorpius is. Age of Scorpius is Audra Winter's debut novel. She claimed to have worked on it since age 12, which would be 10 years of effort on this single book. She had a very successful marketing campaign on TikTok that started in 2021 and culminated with the release of the book in June of 2025. The Amazon description of the book says that her campaign got over 12 million views and 5 million likes. She garnered over 7,000 pre-orders, which is absolutely wild for a debut author. She based the campaign on the book's extensive artwork, themes, aesthetics, her journey as the author, and the promise of the story. But as far as I know, she never shared actual excerpts. If she had, things might have gone differently, because the gist of this case study is that Audra hyped and released a book that was not readable. The Goodreads rating as of right now is 1.61 stars across 132 ratings and 64 reviews, and the Amazon rating is 2.8 stars across 22 global ratings and reviews. The Amazon summary appears to be from the paperback only, as the Kindle version is no longer available, and if there were more ratings on the Kindle version, they are gone and do not factor into the book's overall rating. I first heard of this book from one of my author friends. We regularly share things in our group chat about the publishing industry, people who do things right versus who do things wrong, and Audra Winter is, unfortunately, the best example I've seen of someone who is a stellar marketer, but at this stage in her career does not appear to be a good writer. So why am I doing a case study on something I haven't read? By the time I found out about Age of Scorpius, it had been pulled from all sales platforms. It also includes content I don't want to read, namely sapphic romance, but regardless, there are plenty of readers on the internet who have made review videos or dissected the book and Audra's response to the backlash. So I had plenty of resources to understand what happened, what went wrong, and why it's gone off the rails so much. There's a lot of backstory and digging into the response threads that I don't have time to cover in this episode, but if you're interested, the description has a list of links to the YouTube videos that I've watched on this whole debacle. Let's start with what Audra did right. Number one, I have to hand it to her. She is a phenomenal marketer. Any author who can get over 7,000 pre-orders on a debut novel through social media marketing is killer, and she absolutely should lean into those marketing skills long term. Number two, she admitted she screwed up. It takes courage to do that. Number three, she pulled the book from sales. This was a smart move because it means she listened to at least some of the feedback from readers, and doing so prevents new readers from finding it and tanking her reviews even more. Number four, she's promised to rework it and release it again down the line. And number five, she's offered free second edition ebooks to everyone who bought any format of the first edition, but that still stiffs the people who purchased a physical copy and don't want to read the second edition on an e-reader. Now, what did Audra do wrong? This section is going to be the longest because, unfortunately, Audra did a lot of things wrong. Number one, the biggest issues have to do with the editing claims. She made statements that implied she hired a developmental editor who developmentally edited The Hunger Games, when in fact, the editor she hired worked on the marketing team for The Hunger Games. The statement was phrased in such a way that people inferred that she was working with a top-tier editor, and she did not dissuade people of this notion. This is material misrepresentation because it gave the appearance that the book was professionally vetted when she clearly didn't take the editor's feedback. Number two, we don't know exactly what kind of feedback she received, but it's clear from the many reviews and reaction videos that Audra's work read like a 12-year-old's first draft. She made contradicting statements, both that she worked with at least 2 editors, one of which being a dev editor, and that she didn't have time at the end to give full attention to copy edits because of how many unexpected pre-orders had flooded in. Number 3, a recent update on her TikTok threw the original editors under the bus, and Audra has since hired a third editor who claims to do developmental, line, and copy edits, all of them at the same time, basically. Typically, dev editors and line or copy editors are separate people. This new editor has made claims that the prior editors didn't do their jobs and that they basically took advantage of Audra. Number 4, Audra did not send the book to ARC readers. Number 5, Audra claimed that she'd written other books during the 10 years working on Age of Scorpius, but the unfolding saga has revealed that most of those other books were complete rewrites of Age of Scorpius. It appears that she never revised a first draft into a second draft, into a third, and so on, but rather she started from scratch every single rewrite and so had, in essence, multiple first drafts of the exact same book. This was a major critique from reviewers, that it read like a first draft because, in essence, it was. Number 6, she also appears to have weaponized her neurodivergence by stating that people just don't understand her writing style, and that her writing style is influenced by that neurodivergence. However, it's clear from the many review videos and comments from other neurodivergent authors that being neurodivergent doesn't mean that you can't learn grammar, spelling, sentence structure, story structure, or how to craft character arcs or write an engaging plot. There are a multitude of successful neurodivergent authors who don't weaponize that against their readers. Number 7, she used TikTok Shop for pre-orders, but not through the official TikTok Shop pre-order feature, which is heavily controlled. Audra has claimed that they are following all the terms of service and policies with TikTok Shop, but TikTok Shop is not intended to be like Kickstarter where you crowdfund your projects. Generally, federal regulations state that products sold online must be fulfilled within 30 days unless explicitly stated and agreed upon otherwise. That's something Kickstarter does. The funding window is specific and limited, and the fulfillment timeline is stated upfront with the caveat that backers on Kickstarter assume the risk of losing funds if the creator doesn't abide by their promise. As far as I know, that is not something that you can do on TikTok. There's not really any gray areas on Kickstarter for backers to complain if they don't receive what they backed when they were told that they would receive it. Audra said that she only expected 100 pre-orders, but then it blew up to over 7,000. Number 8, Audra said that the re-released hardcovers would be priced higher than the original, and the reasons that she gave were that they were adding more content and they needed to pay their editors more, which both of things are not really great things to say, as why you're making the second edition higher cost. I had so many thoughts when I heard that. And she also said that everyone who pre-ordered the original would be able to order the second edition at half price. So you'd still have to pay to read the version of the book that you were supposed to get to begin with. So while this is not necessarily illegal, it's ethically dubious because those who pre-ordered were promised a polished debut and they received an incredibly flawed book. And now they're being told they need to pay more in order to get the book that was originally promised. So again, it's not technically illegal, but it is leaving a bad taste in everyone's mouths. She did later state that the price of the second edition hardcovers would match the first edition price after backlash over this, but as far as I know, she has still said that people who have previously bought the book can order the second edition at half price. Number 9, she released a video saying that she was going to hire a copy editor and a proofreader from her followers. Now, this is an objectively terrible idea because she has no way to vet people who follow her. What she needs is a disinterested third party who has no connection to the original release and who did not watch the drama unfold. Anyone from her audience is biased, either for or against her, and neither of those options are good when you're looking for an editor. Thankfully, she backtracked this after the commenters all said how terrible of an idea it was. Number 10. Unfortunately, that new unbiased third-party editor has thrown the prior editors under the bus, as I stated earlier. That is not professional, and the whole saga is starting to give the impression that Audra didn't actually have editors for the first edition, which would make the claim about the Hunger Games editor that much worse. Number 11, the changes she said she and her team were going to make for the second edition focused more on the aesthetics of the physical copies, and not nearly enough attention was given to how she's going to fix the story itself. Most of the comments in the videos were telling her to stop with all the art updates and actually fix the writing. She said she'd be rewriting chapter by chapter, but developmental editing looks at the entire book as one cohesive entity. It doesn't make sense to rewrite chapter by chapter if doing so doesn't take into account structural changes that affect the whole book. And even with the publicly available updated first chapter on Patreon, the improvements don't appear to be addressing what readers found lacking in the original. Number 12, she got very defensive about the backlash and spent more time justifying what she did rather than addressing where she fell short or apologizing for releasing a book that really she should not have released. And number 13, probably the biggest thing Audra has done that is negatively affecting herself the most is holding on to the story as it is. She wasn't open to genuine constructive criticism during the writing process. She wasn't open to blowing up the plot or nuking the characters or doing what was best for the story and for the world. It appears she ignored the basics of writing craft. She created an art studio business with the pre-order money and hired 15 to 20 contractors, mostly artists, to work on her world. She jumped off the deep end with the success of a single book's pre-order campaign, and she has not had a soft landing. So what should other writers do differently or instead of what Audra did? And again, this is not advice for Audra in particular. This is advice for writers who want to learn from what Audra did poorly so that we don't make the same mistakes that she did. So number one, invest the time or the money into editing and don't ignore the feedback. The point of editing is to get other eyeballs on your work and to see the problems that you can't see. When we spend so long on our own books, we become blind to the problem areas. Number two, don't misrepresent who you're working with. While it sounds so cool to say that you're working with an editor from the Hunger Games, that implies something very different from the truth that the editor was on the marketing team for the Hunger Games. Number three, be honest with your readership about what's going on. Don't be confusing. Don't change your story. Don't attack people who didn't like that you didn't deliver on what you promised. Be humble and willing to accept feedback, to apologize, and to outline what you're going to do to rectify the situation that does not involve art updates, and then follow through on that. Audra built trust over 4 years, and she lost it in the days to weeks it took readers to discover how bad her book was. And not just that the story meandered or the plot wasn't great or you didn't connect with the characters. Bad in that it was very clearly unedited when she claimed that it was. If she's intentional and honest, she has the chance to rebuild that trust and use this as a huge learning opportunity for herself. Number four, don't make those who pre-ordered pay to get the second edition. This has to do with making good on your original promise. Trying to make those early supporters pay to get what you originally promised them leaves a bad taste in the mouth of those readers. Number five, stop hyping the artwork. What readers want is a good story, and a lot of Audra's response to the poor release was promising more artwork, which nobody cares about. What readers care about is getting the story she promised they'd get, regardless of how much artwork was involved. And number six, while we are entrepreneurs as well as authors, don't jump off the deep end into creating a full-fledged creative art studio from one good pre-order. What sells a series is a well-done first book, and continuing to write good books. Audra's first book was not well done at all, and she's taking the very risky step of staking an entire business enterprise on this one successful pre-order campaign. If she can't pull off coming back from this to release the rest of her series and do it well, which she has said will be more than 10 books, it will be a very expensive lesson indeed. So I feel for Audra, I really do, but what I think happened is she got stuck in the trap of thinking that her writing was amazing and that no one else understood it or her world enough to offer constructive feedback. We all love our first books. They're our babies. But if we have any intention of becoming full-time professional authors, we have to learn how to separate ourselves from our books because they are our products. Readers don't buy us as authors. They buy our books. That's a very important difference. Audra's success with pre-selling Age of Scorpius hinged a lot on it being an important part of her identity. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, except that it prevented her from letting the story have room to breathe and grow and become the best it possibly could. And that can only happen with the willingness to look at our work through an objective lens. I don't think Audra has or had that objective lens because she's insisted that Age of Scorpius, as written and originally released, was the, quote, perfect introduction to her world, end quote. But the reader's opinion is the only one that matters, and hers have collectively decided that it wasn't. So I wish the best of luck to Audra in her revision and re-release journey, and I hope that she takes the opportunity to hone her writing craft and learn some more things about the writing process. As a reminder, if you're interested in watching any of the research videos for this episode, please check out the description. That is it for today's episode. Thanks for joining me, and remember, the first draft is supposed to be garbage. The Novel Writing Podcast is a production of Colleen Mitchell Writes. For more writing resources, including Curios, Tally Inc. author services, and the 60-day novel writing challenge, check out the links in the description.